5 years ago this week, we went into our first lockdown from Covid-19. So we thought we'd mark that time with a discussion today on where it started, what conspiracies were brought upon us from COVID, and how it affected us then and how it affects us now. Here we are on the Bothy.
From 6 p.m. tonight, I am declaring a state of disaster across Victoria. This means that police and others have additional powers.
G'day everybody and welcome to the Bothy. Today, mate, it's 5 years this week that we went into our first lockdown.
It's a big one.
From COVID-19.
Yep.
So March 2020, 29th of March 2020, we went into the first of 6 lockdowns.
Yep.
Where we would eventually become the sixth longest lockdown city in the world.
In the world, yeah.
With 6 lockdowns over 290 days.
Thanks, Dan.
Good on you, Dan.
Yeah.
You
goat.
That was a nice little line, can I say? So we agree that COVID started in the Wuhan lab.
Of course, undoubtedly. That wet market was just a bloody... It was to throw everybody off the scent.
And
it was a bit suspicious. They had a bloody a lab right there in Wuhan. Yeah, it never came from the lab. It came from a fish market.
And we agree that the US funded the Wuhan lab.
No, they were funding it. That's a fact.
And that Fauci knew about that?
Fauci. Of course he knew.
He knew?
Yeah.
So he lied.
Yeah, he lied to Senate. He lied to everybody.
Yeah. Fauci, you're a piece of shit.
Piece of dog shit.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So we agree on that.
Yep.
And then they let it into the world.
Yep.
Through there's obviously a leak in the lab, and one of the doctors or scientists got ill.
Either it was an accident or they did it on purpose.
I think it was an accident.
I think it was a purpose.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Right. Let's agree to disagree.
Because it was the only thing you'd ever seen in the world where everybody was hands-on, let's get this done. Every bloody country, apart from the odd African country, who knew better, because they've been subject to quite a few bloody experiments by, let's say, or Bill Gates Foundation. Ooh. We're for the good. Whatever. You're a piece of shit as well, Bill. Since we're on it. What is a psyop? That's all you need to ask yourself. What is a psyop? A psyop is something that if they're telling you a narrative and you aren't allowed to have an opposing opinion to that narrative, it's a psyop. Happy days. We're there. It's a psyop.
COVID-19?
Yep.
Psyop.
Definitely. Yep.
I relate psyops to UFOs and UAPs, but you've gone and spun it.
Yeah, I've spun it around. Yep.
Yeah. So you believe it was man-made and then released?
Yep.
I believe it was man-made and got out by accident.
Yeah.
Still a little bit in me wants to believe in the good.
Yep. Do you remember when it first came out and they were showing pictures from China and they had all those people lined up dead on the ground with blankets above their heads, and then somebody's blanket moved and he went and put it back over his head? That's when I went, what the fuck? What's going on here? And I thought, that's a bit suspicious. And you'd see people dying. People were filming people just dropping down in the streets.
Yes.
It's like, does no one remember that?
People were being boarded into their houses.
It was ridiculous. And then I think the first time it really got bad was probably Italy or Spain.
Yeah, Italy.
It got bad, but it was generally the older people were dying. I'm not saying that's bad. That's a good thing. I'm just saying, but it was what 0.2% of the populace was getting infected with this. That's not a huge death rate by any means.
No.
Yet we'll lock everybody up.
A lot of people were dying and had COVID at the time of death, therefore their cause of death.
Yes.
So I had a mate who passed from, he was in hospital, he passed from, he had cancer, but he also had COVID right at the end.
I bet they wrote COVID killed him.
COVID was the cause of death.
Yep. I was reading something on APRA, the other day there. That's the Australian health, yada, 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 something you can look up. Anyway, these guys, they've got information on how many doctors were at odds with what they were telling everybody, and they reckon there was as many as 80% of the doctors out there had a problem with what APRA was trying to get them to do. And that's ridiculous, isn't it? They were getting told to shut up. If they didn't push the narrative they were pushing, you're out, or we're going to fine you, or you're going to lose your business. It's like, what the hell? That just tells you what a bunch of shite it was. And all you bastard and bloody government officials, you'll know about it. In fact, I remember when who was the guy with the stupid hair in UK?
Johnson.
Yeah, Boris Johnson. They were having parties and laughing about the fact that everybody was in masks, looking stupid, and in their house by 9 o'clock. It's like, that just tells you everything. They knew it was bloody bollocks, and they were just flaunting it.
Yep. French president the same.
Yep.
Oh, some interesting news on the French president.
Is his wife really a man?
Tucker Carlson has come out and said yes.
Oh, Tucker!
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, Candace has been talking about it for a while.
Yeah. Anyway, that's how easy it is for us in the Bothy to get right after it. And even the LA governor, Gavin Newsom, was doing the same thing. Parties in restaurants where they had them exclusively to themselves because no one else was allowed out.
What about that dickhead that everybody hates, the one that was in Romania for a while?
Tate.
He was the first one I saw online saying, this is bollocks. I've not had the jab. I can still travel. I can go anywhere. It's only you people that have no money that have to get in line and get the jab. And I thought, that's exactly what I thought. But then when he said that, I know he's a dickhead, but I thought, good on you for saying it, you know?
Yeah, get back in your hole, you dog. So 5 years ago today, we went into lockdown, first of 6, as I mentioned. It's fair to say that where we live, our government, our local government, took it pretty seriously, COVID.
Yes.
And then the power went to their freaking head, and they made us all suffer. They punished the populace.
But anyone going out and breaking that curfew, you run the risk of being caught, you run the risk of being fined, and we always reserve the right not just to fine you on the spot, but to take you to court, and then it's not $1,652, it's actually $10,000. We need to do more. That's what these decisions are all about. That's why I've made them, to keep people safe. And everyone has got a role to play in that. Everybody. If you are not at home when you should be, if you've got the virus and you're just going about your business, you will be dealt with harshly.
I remember you telling me one day you were coming back from work and you were going to stop off at your mother's house. Hi. And they stopped you and said, where the hell are you going?
Yeah, so
you can't go here.
So I was one of the lucky people who got to work through COVID because our workplace was deemed, as was yours, necessary. So my mum had a fall and she needed a sleeper put back up. A sleeper wall had collapsed, and I worked about 5 minutes from my mum's place, but that was about an hour from where I lived, and you were only allowed to travel 5 kilometres from where you lived unless it was to work. You had to have a pass that you had to show the police every day. When do you think of that?
It's just stupid. Oh, it's like
through the ring of steel. Anyway, I went around to my mum's, was there for about 2 hours, came out of my mum's street, got pulled over by the police. What are you doing? I've just been around to my mum's. Where do you live? Showed them the address. They said, that's not 5 k's away. I said, yeah, I know. I work just around the corner, and my mum had a fall and I needed to fix the step. I got a written warning for, well, I think it was a $700 fine or something crazy. And next time I would go and visit my mum, I would get a fine.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, what the Victorian government, I'm going to read this because it makes me mad, and I start to get the red mist comes over me, and I start getting wound up. So,
Hulk.
Yeah, what the Victorian government did here is they took away our liberty. They took our freedom of movement. You couldn't go 5 k's from home.
No.
Our freedom of speech. You weren't allowed to protest. That person in Ballarat, that pregnant lady, got arrested because she said COVID's not real.
Well, they're getting shot by rubber bullets at the bloody Shrine of Remembrance.
Your freedom of expression. You weren't allowed to have an opinion.
Yep.
It was taken away from us. And in the end of it was the freedom of choice. Yeah. we have a fence that borders our property, and I wasn't allowed to talk to you, and you weren't allowed to talk to me, and we weren't allowed to talk to our next neighbour who has a fence that borders us.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to work, you had to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
And it's all very well for the government to say you had a choice. What was the choice? The choice was unemployment.
Yeah, lose my job if I didn't get vaccinated.
Yeah.
My boss told me, he said, if you don't get vaccinated, you can't work here.
Same with me, and same with another bloke I know who was determined not to get vaccinated, stood his digs, and I reckon he suffered for probably 2 or 3 years. From that.
Good on the ones that said no. I couldn't, but good on you for doing that.
I couldn't either.
Yeah.
And it wasn't once. It wasn't twice. It was 3 times.
Did you get 3 times?
3 times. I
only went twice. I
had to get vaccinated 3 times.
Completely over it.
So what happened was that power's gone to the head, and it's so ridiculous. When you look back 5 years ago, there's no way that would happen again now.
Yeah,
it just goes to show you
people have woken up.
Yeah,
we were unprepared for it.
Completely unprepared. Yeah. We didn't know what to do.
No.
We listened to the
We believed them.
We listened. Yeah, we listened and believed. And then, of course, you got the whole farmer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Who caused more illness than they cured, in my opinion.
Yes.
We both know people who were fit and healthy and in their 20s who ended up in hospital because they got vaccinated.
Myocarditis, those other heart issues that you can get. Like, there's so many things that can go wrong. Now they're classing long COVID. Long COVID is their cover-up for vaccine injured. So anybody that's feeling a bit poorly now and have had the vaccine, it's not long COVID. You're vaccine injured, as far as I'm concerned. I might be wrong, but
we won't be fact-checking.
No.
Not that one. The other thing is the long-term effect on mental health.
Oh, my God.
There's still programs in Victoria where we live now where people are, especially young people, where they're undergoing mental health care. And you look at our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day they're at school, the next 3 months they're not.
Yeah,
they're not getting
online and stuff.
They're not getting their social interaction. Yeah. They're not playing sport anymore. And we're not talking about for a month.
Yeah, it's like 6-7 months.
More. Yeah. It was absolutely insane. I remember we went to a Darkness concert the night before.
Yeah.
And I remember the guys on stage saying, I don't know whether we'll be back tomorrow night. Bit of a joke about it. And guess what? They weren't. Yeah. So, the Hawkins boys, you were right. We weren't allowed to go and see anybody anymore. And to their credit, they came back and finished that tour.
Yeah.
But, it just took away our liberty and freedom and
it was like a home arrest, wasn't it?
It was. It was horrendous.
It was horrible.
Where we live, unfortunately, is about 100 k's from Melbourne. So we had to travel through the Ring of Steel every day. So every day you had to present your letter to the police. You had to queue up for half an hour, present your letter to the police, get clearance to be able to come home. And then the next day, when I go back to work, I had to do it all again.
No.
I've never... It was like we were living in a prison state.
It was a police state, fully, for that time,
It was horrendous.
It was horrendous.
Now, in our case, in Australia's case, 2.9 million people got COVID out of our, that's about 11 to 12% of our population, actually contracted COVID. But when you look back, it was no Spanish flu.
No. Well, I've got a story about that, but I'll leave that for another episode.
So, for us, COVID destroyed the moral fabric of society. People are trying to protest. People are refusing to wear masks, and then you're trying to mandate masks, and people ended up fighting in the streets or in the shops or whatever it was. And then you got the debt.
Yeah.
So our state had a debt of $16 billion when this government came into term, and in the 3 years before COVID, this government, who's still in, took that debt from $16 billion to $25 billion. And then in the 2 years of COVID, that debt spiraled from $25 billion to $115 billion. And now that we're paying so much interest that we can't even afford to pay that down, by the end of this year, it'll be $150 billion.
Yeah.
It has crippled the economy to the point where,
I mean, we are in a recession. They're not admitting it.
No.
But everybody out here and the sticks, and anybody that's just got an average paying job, they know it's a recession.
Yep. And now unemployment's on the creep. I think it was 50,000 people didn't get work out of.
Well, they were telling us the other day there that Labour have managed to keep the unemployment down to the. But that's people that haven't. They're classing people as working if they've got more than 12 hours work.
Yeah.
They're working.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not fucking working.
No.
Bloody Albanese, you fucking troll. Yeah.
And Jacinta.
Ugh.
Don't forget Jacinta. How can you leave her out?
She's like just a wart in his arse, isn't she?
I saw Dan got kicked out of a pub this week and told not to come back at a place he's bought up in the Murray River.
I would have been happy if the bouncer had kicked the shit out of him. Yeah, that would have been much more enjoyable.
Someone kicked the shit out of him down the stairs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Fell down the stairs. Not likely. Not likely, mate.
So COVID. It was the destroyer of lives. It was the destroyer of relationships. It caused people a lot of stress. It caused our divorce rate to spike.
Yep.
People lost friends out of it because people had different opinions. I know my wife and I ended up not talking about it because she was on the side, probably more on your side.
Yeah.
And initially, I was probably
in denial.
I was probably corporate.
You were in denial. I went down to believe it was all good.
In my line of work, I had to convince all my team to get vaccinated, and
so you had to live the lie.
I did. And looking back on it now, I believe I was in the wrong. You were in the right, and my wife was in the right. And going along with the narrative probably wasn't the thing to do, but we all did it like
sheep.
Like sheep. Would we do it again?
No, nah.
No, I don't think we would. I think there'd be an uprising.
But I found I was getting coerced by friends, people I knew. Not so much you. But yeah, people go, take it for your family's sake, for old people's sake, for this. It's like, and all they were doing was repeating what the news was telling them. And it was really annoying.
I got COVID 3 times. Once I caught it, and twice I got it after vaccine.
Nah.
Yeah, straight after vaccine. And I felt way sicker after the vaccine than I did when I actually got it.
I got stupid heart palpitations with the vaccine. Thought I was going to have a heart attack. The bloody heart was going 200 beats a minute. It was horrible.
It's fair to say we broke the laws a little bit, didn't we? We had the odd movie night because there's only a fence separating us, and we had the odd barbecue up the by the wire fence. And when you think back on it, you had to do something, didn't you?
You had to meet people. We're social creatures. It's like, if you got no one to talk to, what are you doing? You're just nutting your head against the fucking wall.
Couldn't play golf.
No.
Couldn't take the boat out by myself to go for a fish on the ocean. By myself. Come on. What the hell? We were ready to go on a fishing trip. Yep. 4 of us.
Actually, I was going to say, so one of the reasons people voted, and this is only one of the reasons, I'd say a couple of million people probably would have voted for him for this reason, but Albanese said that he would have a royal commission on what went down and what went wrong with COVID. Did we get that? No. We got a silly bloody half-assed event that they went, no, everybody's good. It's all right, everything's good. I'm like, what? That was it. That was your bloody... Instead of doing a royal commission, which would have actually looked into it, they've done this half-assed fucking thing. And then just recently, well, not recently, but probably within the last 6 months, the guys that were pushing to get the questions answered and have a real commission about it, the likes of Senator Babbitt, Senator Rennick, Pauline Hanson's mob, they all voted again. So they had a second chance to do it all right and get it right. And people had the chance to vote. It was 10, I think it was 10 or 12 votes for and like 30 against. They don't want to know. Why don't you want to know the truth? Because you freaking know the truth and you know you're guilty. And that's why you don't want a commission. That's all I can say.
You triggered a little memory of me in there. I wrote to our good friend Pauline Hanson.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, a couple of days ago, asking her if she would like to present herself on the Bothy, so that we could interview her and get her word out there before the federal election that we've got coming up. I haven't heard back yet, but I'm sure I will.
Yeah, because I mean, we've had 500 views. So
No, we've had 3,500.
wow.
Wow. And a lot of people disagreeing with us. But hey, that's okay. That's what freedom of speech is
Yeah,
about.
that is exactly right. Yeah.
We didn't get the freedom of speech, did we,
No, we didn't.
during COVID?
No.
We weren't allowed to do
We
anything.
got one narrative and one narrative only. And that's all we could talk about.
What would you do if you ran into Fauci in the street? I mean, I'm not sure we're allowed to say what we would like to do.
Well, he's
but
an old man, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
we're not allowed to do anything because he's got his, what did he get from Biden? He got his pardon.
pardon. That's just, there's so many of them but at least there are a few in the industry, the TV world or whatever, that have actually at least come out and said, yeah, sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I don't particularly like him, but that dude, the English guy that is quite big, not the one that's going to try and be Prime Minister, the other guy, Pierce.
Piers Morgan.
Yeah. He actually came out and said, yeah, sorry, I was wrong. And I pushed it. And I'm sorry. At least he was big enough to do that. I'm not particularly on his side or anything. I heard him with Tucker Carlson earlier on in the week.
Strange.
Oh, it was like odd. Tucker was acting weird.
Yeah.
He wasn't as smart as he normally sounds.
He was nervous.
Yeah,
He was nervous. Yeah, I reckon Piers has got them rattled.
Yeah, because he sounded a bit silly.
Mm.
And was like, that's not the Tucker I've seen.
No.
Maybe Candace needs to have a go against Pierce, because Candace is usually pretty sharp.
He won't talk to him. He won't
talk to her.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, Fauci, if you walk down the street, I'd want to stop him and say, look at all the pain you caused millions of people around the world, mate.
But this is when you really hope there is a heaven and hell.
Yeah. He won't be in the same
And you
place.
pray that he's going down there.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't deserve anything better.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's you, Fauci.
So COVID-19 hurt way more people than it helped.
Oh, fully.
Yep. And I don't mean the disease or the pandemic. I'm talking about the ridiculous situation that governments are right around the world, be it the UK, Europe, Australia, US, New Zealand.
Yep.
Crikey. That Prime Minister, she was going mad.
Well, what about Sweden? Sweden, after a year and a half, went, we're not doing this anymore. And what happened in Sweden? That must have went pear-shaped really quickly, because they just went, nah, we're not going to shut the pubs. We're opening the pubs. We're opening this. We're opening that.
Yeah.
They must have been in some turmoil after doing that. No, they weren't. No difference.
Right.
No difference.
Yeah.
The same amount of people that were dying the year before were still dying the next year. Obviously different people, but the same amount. There was no difference in that whatsoever.
So what do we do next time, mate? We fight the system.
Fight the system, mate.
Fight the system.
Yep.
We stand up.
Stand up.
We say, listen, Jacinda, or whoever's in charge then, probably still be.
And can I just reiterate again, thank you to you people that pushed back and never got the jab. Because you guys are the difference between seeing what actually is happening and what isn't happening. Because if we never had a test to see what's the difference between the people that got vaccinated and what's the people that did get vaccinated, how many are dying, you guys have proved it. Because there's not a lot of you guys that are dead. You're all kind of living still. So that just tells you like 100 different things. So good on you guys for having the bravery to do that.
I'll be short there. I'll give you the tip. Well said, mate.
Mm.
All right. So next time there's a COVID-26, we're fighting it. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Beauty.
I think there's one coming in 30. I heard Bill Gates saying, oh, there'll be one in 5 or 10 years.
Is it coming on a spaceship?
Well, it might be.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
the same one that just came from the ISS.
I still can't work out how they're going to splash it into the water, mate. Can't we land the freaking thing on the... Anyway. All right, everybody. Thanks for putting up with our rant for today.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
See ya.